Good morning, and thank you to the Chamber for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. As a little introduction to myself, I'm the Client Success Coordinator at Alliance Answer. I've been with the company since 2019. I started out as an operator, then moved up to dispatcher, trainer, and then supervisor before transitioning into my current role. In my current position, my primary focus is on developing and maintaining close relations with our clients, mainly through proactive check-ins after onboarding and establishing a regular contact procedure in case they have questions and or concerns after they've started with us. Alliance has a security division which handles the sales, service, and monitoring of alarm systems, as well as a communication side, which is the answering service side. The focus of my talk today is on the answering service side, providing discussion on what an answering service is, how we work specifically here at Alliance, and what answering services can do for businesses. I should mention that not all answering services are the same, so my focus today is going to be will primarily fall on sort of how things work at Alliance. So let's get started here. This is going to, there we go. All right, so I thought as a starting point, I would provide a brief history of Alliance and how the answering service side developed. So the origins of Alliance Answer began in 1948 when Gord Leach opened telephone answering service of Kingston. Jack French, who had his own photography business at that time, was a customer of Leach's, but he was fairly unhappy with the services being provided to him. In response, Jack decided to start his own answering service with just $500 to his name, and in 1966 he opened the Kingston Secretary Service, the first paging company in Kingston. He was also responsible in this case for bringing the first pocket pagers to Kingston. He had two friends in the Waterloo area who had formed Alliance Alarms and were selling franchises. He bought the Alliance name for Kingston and had it registered. In 1972, both telephone answering service of Kingston and Kingston Secretary Service, they were then purchased by the magazine company McLean Hunter, who wanted to purchase the TV cable license for the Kingston area and have Alliance manage it, essentially buying them out. The license fell through though, and McLean lost interest in the venture, offering to sell back the Alliance name to Jack French. In turn, he bought back that Alliance name along with his competition, telephone answering service, and this happened in 1977, renaming it Alliance Communications. When Alliance Communications first started out, they were 24/7 business as usual, with about 6 to 10 employees working out of 6 Garrett Street. This first office was a living room in an apartment house, and it had 4 switchboards, which is what you'll see here over on the right, with each board having the capacity to take 80 customers. Originally, they had around 20 customers in total, though. Doctors, plumbers, electricians, security guards, and parking attendants made up some of their customers to start. When answering services started out in the very early days, they had to be situated within a quarter of a mile from a phone tower, and they were subject to toll if they expanded outside of their immediate area. And so Alliance's first clients were ones based in Kingston, with a primary focus on pagers. The towers were necessary to make the pagers work in this case. So one thing to note then, for answering services, especially before computers, they were very much at their core local businesses, connecting with and knowing well the businesses in their area and their customers. So this still holds true for many today, but not all answering services. As more towers became built, Alliance expanded to include customers in Ottawa, Smith Falls, and Brockville. They sort of expanded from there. And as the company grew, they moved from Garrett to 174 Division Street, where they got their first computers. So it's safe to say that computers revolutionized the answering service business. Before then, operators used cord boards to take calls and deliver messages. And you'll see the cord board over there on the right, and sort of a typical setup before computers on the left there as to what they looked like. Really how this worked is that there was a buzzer that came in that you see at the top there. It would say that a call's coming in. You use one of your cords to plug into the respective slot. You would flick on with the switches at the very bottom of that board there. Take your calls. Messages were handwritten, of course, and those messages you'll see up there at the top for each respective client. Usually there was a number written on the board, and that would match each client so that the operator knew which company they were taking a message for and where it was going to. And just some printouts for 174 Division Street. There's Brad there on the right, the son of Jack French. We'll get to him in just a sec. So in 1998, Jack's son, Brad, he took the lead in overseeing the company, and with the addition of computers now, the company expanded further to bringing on clients in other parts of Canada and then into the US. With the help of online advertisements, for example, Alliance was able to take on funeral homes and lotteries in the US, and they soon moved to a larger office on Bennington Court. That picture there with Brad, that is at their Bennington Court office. In 2006, Director on Call was formed in partnership with Frontrunner Professional, funeral home software provider. And as the years went by, the company continued to grow and formed two other specific brands, Legal Call 24 in around 2014-2015, which focused on law firms, and Property Answer in 2018-2019, which focused on property management companies. Today, in our current office on Concession Street, right there, we have over 600 clients that span all across North America and a team of close to 40 employees on the answering service side. We're a family-run business here that is close-knit and has a track record of long employee retention. A number of our current team members, they've been with Alliance for over 10 to 15 years, some reaching 30 plus years. And of course, Alliance is still very much a local business rooted in the Kingston community. So now that we have a bit of a history here in terms of Alliance, the answering service side, and answering services a bit in general, let's get into sort of what we do. The answering service industry provides third-party call handling for businesses, both small and large. So we are essentially virtual receptionists for them, handling incoming calls and emails, providing 24/7 customer interactions. An answering service helps generate revenue for a business while reducing their own costs. They don't miss any calls while reducing the need for additional office staff, so that ROI is very high with an answering service. But so is also the life-work balance that comes with having one, especially if you're a small business owner. Answering services provide them more time to spend with their families and away from work, instead of always being glued to their phones to take calls from their customers. We are, of course, a 365, 24/7 industry, and businesses can use our services as much as they need. This could include taking overflow calls during their business hours when their own phone lines are busy with customers, or handling all of their calls once they close up for the day. We can take calls on demand, such as if a company will be away from their phones to attend an event, or if funeral home staff need to attend a service, for example. This also includes if a business owner needs to attend a family function, wants to go on vacation somewhere and not be bothered, or simply just needs a night off to spend with their family away from work. We're there to take those phone calls. We're also there for emergencies, such as if an office could not go in due to a snowstorm or a thunderstorm has knocked out power to their office. We would then step in to take their calls and assist their customers when they are temporarily unable to. Depending on the business, we can also take calls 24/7 for them or answer an emergency extension all the time. Or we only take calls from new clients via a specific extension at their office. Answering services are flexible, are meant to support and to complement the businesses they serve. Each client signs on for a certain amount of minutes in the package, and if they go above these minutes, then they'll be charged an overage amount. Beyond phone calls, here at Alliance, we also handle email monitoring and check-ins for employees working by themselves through our lone worker option. So what kind of businesses does Alliance answer for? And this can also be said for other answering services. We handle calls for a wide range of companies. There really are no constraints for who can benefit from an answering service. So we answer calls for health centers, municipalities, plumbers, electricians, tow companies, law firms, funeral homes, property management companies, just to name a few. We also monitor elevators, taking calls from the elevator cab itself when pushed by those who are in it. And there are also industry-focused answering services, such as ones that just answer for funeral homes, for example, or ones that just take calls for the healthcare industry. Here at Alliance, we're a bit more of a broad range, so we take from a large variety of companies in this case. With all these various options available to businesses, I should also mention then the importance that an answering service plays in the overall operations of a company. We very much are an extension of the companies we answer for and represent their company when speaking with their customers. So a few examples then will highlight the importance answering services have for the companies they answer for. Oftentimes, we're the ones who take emergency after hours calls. On a larger scale, this can mean alerting staff at a utilities company of a widespread power outage, or during a winter storm, handling calls for snow clearing and salting for a city. We also play a role in notifying a property manager of a major flood at one of their rental buildings, or even worse, a fire that's happened. During larger, more final procedures, we would play a role in notifying all staff of a municipality of a major event, such as a tornado. And we can also assist health units in fielding calls related to a disease outbreak. Answering services played a key role during COVID, for example, handling calls around testing, quarantine, and outbreaks at nursing homes for specific municipal health units. Moving on to a slightly smaller scale, we would take calls for police-related traffic accidents where tow companies needed, or when a blockade is needed due to a chemical spill. We speak to fire departments when electricity needs to be cut off due to a home due to a fire, and to alarm companies when the business's alarm system has been triggered, possibly due to an active break-in. For elevators, we're there to take calls from trapped individuals, helping them remain calm while we notify the elevator company and property managers. And for vet clinics, we take emergency calls from clients with pets in distress, including both small animals like dogs and cats, and those larger animals such as cows and horses. In all these cases, answering services have a role in mitigating emergency situations and helping prevent further and more extensive damage or bodily harm. By covering emergency after hours calls, we also assist a wide range of companies with their customer requests once their offices close. So this includes taking calls from customers who have a non-working furnace, or they ran out of propane, so they're unable to heat their homes. We handle calls from tenants locked out of their units at night, or that are having a sewage that's backing up into their basement. We would handle calls from stuck motorists who need to be pulled from a ditch, or need their car brought to an auto shop after it's broken down. Regardless of the exact situation, as an answering service, we assist customers with their emergency needs and in turn ensure that the companies we represent are there to assist their customers 24/7. In other circumstances, we assist companies in bringing in new clients and additional revenue. So law firms, for example, would use an answering service to field potential client calls looking to retain one of their lawyers. An HVAC company would rely on an answering service to take calls after hours from customers needing a new furnace. Or a property restoration company would use us who for customers needing a quote on repairs. We can assist cleaning companies with bringing on new customers. We can schedule consultation appointments for a wide range of shops. This includes roofing companies, window covering stores, and technical support companies. On the funeral home side of things, an answering service is really the first point of contact for a family who has lost a loved one and is looking to contact a funeral home director after hours. Our team members take those sensitive calls and assist the family with making that crucial first contact with a funeral home, while also taking down the necessary information so a director knows who to contact and where to go to bring someone into their care. Answering services can act as a go-between then from the family to the transfer team to the funeral home, and can also play a role in bringing on new clients through handling pricing calls. So we interact daily with these families who've lost loved ones, and we play a significant role in the daily operations of a funeral home. We have the capability as well to input on-call schedules for our clients, adjust those when needed, monitor emails. There's a large range that answering services do for both small and large businesses. With that in mind, now that we have sort of covered what we can do for businesses, the question remains though as to how an answering service actually works from a more technical standpoint. So I'm going to take you sort of through that in this case. When a new client onboards with us after choosing a minute package, signing an agreement, they're provided an intake form to fill out where they set their script, And we'll return to that. You'll see it up on the screen here. We're going to come back to that in just a moment and receive information about the type of company they are. So their office address, phone number, who their staff members are, their contact details, and other pertinent pieces of information that we should know about them. We then provide them with 2 call forwarding numbers, so a local 6131 and then a toll-free 1-800 one. This call forwarding number is what they will use when transferring their phone lines over to us. They'll dial this number from their office, for example, and input the call forwarding number so that when a customer calls their office line or a specific extension, it'll go directly to one of our agents at the answering service. Some clients do this manually each night when they leave for the day, while others will sort of work with their phone company to have this set up automatically. During the onboarding process, we also ask if the client would like a report of the previous night's messages sent to you in the morning. It's an optional feature, but we program it in for a certain report with their messages to go to specific emails or to go out as a fax the following morning at a specific time that they choose. Other clients prefer we just give them a call each morning if we have any messages for them, and we can program that in to get them to help them out with that. Once the onboarding process is complete and before their account goes live with us, so we start answering calls for them, our operators are then trained on the account, including its script, call types, and dispatch procedures. This ensures that our agents are able to effectively and properly handle the client's calls with confidence. For taking calls and dispatching messages at Alliance, we use a phone operating software called Genesis. So when a customer phones in to a company's office line or emergency number, their calls go directly to one of our agents. The account automatically then pulls up on the agent's screen as a live call. That's what you'll see here. Each account has an answering phrase that our agents say to begin the call. So like this, good afternoon, thank you for calling, such and such company, how may I help you? And this happens once the account shows up on their screen. After they say the answering phrase, the caller then often advises why they're calling or who they're looking to speak with, and from there, our agent chooses a call type and moves through the script accordingly. So there's the types of standard types of calls here. This is just a template account that we have: non-urgent, urgent, fax, check in, check out, and no message. We'll come to those in just a moment here. So offering to take a message and then gathering the necessary information based on the questions noted in the account. Each script has its own closing, which advises how the message is being handled, including to whom it is being sent to and a time frame for a callback, such as next business day, within 24 hours, within 30 minutes, etc. Each of the account's scripts are constructed so the call progresses smoothly and we collect the needed information as requested by the client in their intake form. And each client requests we collect different types of information. But in general, as you're going to see here, this often includes the caller's name, phone number, and usually a brief message we can pass along so the client knows the reason for the call and who to phone back. Depending on the industry, the pieces of information we gather could also include an email address, company name, address of service. You see that quite often with plumbers, electricians, fuel delivery companies. Sometimes a PO number, and we see that with tow companies. For funeral homes, this could also include the name of the person who has passed, location for which someone has passed for taking a death call, and any next of kin details. And we may also include preferred callback time. So sometimes companies like to know when someone actually wants callback time in this case. Our scripts are custom and they can be adjusted per the client's request. Once a message is taken, it then needs to be dispatched out to the company staff so they can take it from there and follow up with their customer. So I'm just going to take you through what a standard script. So here is where the account pops up. Answer phrase is up at the top. Usually along here on the left-hand side is where the information page is. And then you can go to your call types. From there, based on what the caller is saying, our operator would choose and head into the script. So I'll gather some information. We'll call during regular business hours. We advise how the message is being handled and advise of a callback. Name, phone number, email in this case for this test one, and an address. We can collect postal codes that are programmed in so they populate with the city and province, the message, and then we say thank you. I'll forward your message to whoever. when they return within 24 hours. We usually set a time frame based on the client's request and the call type for when someone can expect a call back. And then this is just an example of a more urgent one. I'll gather some information and contact the on-call right away. It's an urgent call type, so of course it's going to change. I'll contact the on-call right away and they'll return your call shortly. This is all built into our scripting based on the call type and based on the urgency in this case. And then usually, and I'll come to this now in terms of the dispatch, this is sort of what it looks like for a non-urgent one. For the dispatch part, similar to the scripting and questions we ask, each client's dispatch procedures are based on their needs, and these are established during the intake process. Depending on the account, specific call types are dispatched differently. In a lot of cases, but not all, non-urgent and urgent calls are dispatched differently, and the client specifies to us what scenarios are considered which. So what they consider as non-urgent and what they consider as urgent. I'll just highlight a few examples to illustrate the full breadth of what an answering service can do for dispatching. So we can email non-urgent calls to a specific email address or a group of emails once the call is complete. For urgent calls, our dispatchers can text an on-call staff member a message or phone them right away with it. In other instances, our operators would patch a customer through to the client once they've taken down the necessary information so the client can continue the conversation. So we would phone them and say, "Hi, I have so-and-so on the line about this. Do you want to speak with them?" And then we'll connect them through on our system here with Genesis. Often when patching occurs, a message is texted or emailed to the client too. Some businesses, as you'll see in this one here, they want us to hold messages until the next morning when their report goes through. So they signed up for those daily reports. They'll see the messages that we have held for what we refer to as daily recap. For many urgent calls, a dispatch procedure is set up that involves various steps and contacts. We'll come to that in just a moment here. In case we're not able to reach the first contact on the first attempt. For example, in a client's dispatch procedure, we first text a message to their on-call staff and then give them a set amount of time to text or call us back to confirm they got the message. If we don't hear from them after that amount of time, we then contact them again and or move on to another contact. From there, we would create a list of who to contact, how and how much time to give in between each contacts so a message can be confirmed. Once someone from the business confirms a message was received, we then deliver it. So it's all finished, it's all good, we no longer need to handle it. And all these procedures are built into our system and performed by our team members. In the dispatch part, it's usually a dedicated dispatcher for those urgent messages, and they handle contacting clients with those messages throughout their shift. And the BOA procedures, they're all built so our team members can handle a business's customer calls and ensure they are relayed in a timely manner and through the proper channels based on the client's requests. Answering services act as the extension of a company here, providing a necessary link between their customers and themselves at a time when they themselves are unable to answer their phones directly. And so each client during this onboarding process sets specific details, their answer phrase, the questions they want us to ask, so i.e. the information we need to gather for them, their dispatch procedures, and in some cases, any specific call types. And what you'll see here, this is just for a non-urgent, the information that we gather, and then it just holds for daily report. For this one, this is an urgent one, so this is what the call taker will see after they've taken down their information. They've checked through their messages. If they need to edit it, they can go back. And then they hit this send to dispatch and it gets sent over to our dedicated dispatcher. And this is the dispatch screen. So dispatch instructions are up at the top. So for this one, it's to send a text to a group of people and also to send an email to a group of people. Once we do that, then we set a dispatch job for 5 minutes. And so that gives those contacts 5 minutes to either text or email us back to confirm that they've gotten the message. And if we do hear from them, then we would put in if there's any notes in the document and then relayed to as to who we either spoke to directly to confirm the message or who texted us to confirm that they received the message. We would hit deliver and that would be it. Sometimes we can set up that once a message gets delivered, it auto sends. So if we call someone and we relay. We can set it up that once it gets delivered, it gets automatically texted over to them right afterwards. We can have that all set up in the system. And these are just instructions. So non-urgent calls, this is what a client would refer to as non-urgent. This is for a funeral home, newspaper calls, any calls about death certificates, calls from florists, donations, and these are the instructions. So during office hours, we would send an SMS and email to certain people or to a certain email address. And after hours, once their business closes, we can also have separate instructions. In this case, is to hold for their report. For urgent calls or death calls for a funeral home, that's what they consider. During office hours, we have instructions that we can set to call the office. And then there's those instructions that if we don't reach the office, we keep trying them every 10 minutes. And then after hours, those are the instructions that they have. So we send a text to an on-call director. And then if they're not available after 10 minutes, i.e. we don't hear from them, then we would call them, and then we call the backup after 10 minutes, and so through these dispatch procedures where we would try and reach someone and relay the message. And we would keep doing this until we get a confirmation that the message has been received. Especially see this with urgent calls where it has to be received in this case. And also on the screen, you kind of see how the different ways that we advise of timeframes. So director right away, put you through to a director. So they'll return your call as soon as possible within 15 minutes. We can set very specific timeframes based on what the client is requesting. This is just another example outside of the funeral homes. No heat, no water, for example, for property management. Technical support can be a system down and they're not able to log in. Gives you more sort of examples as to what the dispatch procedures look like and what we can construct in this case. This is we do have a message type in our Genesis, which is just a check-in. So if, a client is leaving for the day, they forwarded their phone lines and they really just sort of want to test their lines with us, make sure they've been forwarded, they'll call in, we'll take down whoever called from the office and just a little note that they've checked out. Sometimes offices will provide us on-call information for the night. We'll notate that down as well in the check-in, check-out message. Or if someone's just checking in on messages, we can record that as well. We do program on almost all of our accounts fact pages. So any information that we can provide to a caller, so the address of a business, who local florists are, for funeral homes, local cemeteries, what does the company do in general, we can provide all of that to the caller and it populates here in that box on the bottom on your left-hand side. Or if it's information that we really are not sure of, then we can take a message. And then as with a lot of people on their phones, we do get spam calls, hang-ups, people who say that they're going to call back. Anything where we don't really take a message in this case for dispatching, we can put it into our no message call type. Those are just some of the various options, and we can add some extra notes if needed. Usually these ones go on the daily recap for the client to review as well. So they are always aware as to what's happening in terms of callers calling in. And here at Alliance, we do also offer email monitoring. And this just sort of goes into, we can set specifics for email monitoring. So a company can have a specific email be forwarded over to us where we would handle claims, for example, any new lost calls that are in those emails, emergency situations that may happen, and we would dispatch those according to their dispatch procedures for email monitoring. And then there's the on-call schedules. So we receive and input on-call schedules for companies. We input them in for the entire month, and we can change them if someone is covering for someone for a specific time period, or if someone is needing to switch a weekend, we can adjust all of that. The on-call schedules, again, is very adaptable, and it really depends on what the client is looking for and how their own schedule works. We really sort of follow what they do in this case, and we set it up for them so that we're contacting the right people at each time when a call comes in. Huh. So with all of this, answering service representatives, they're highly trained in all aspects of call taking. So our team members here at Alliance are first trained on the basics of call taking once they start with us and our operating system. So they learn about the function keys in Genesis, the basics of our scripts, and how to effectively and efficiently take messages. From there, they get trained on and then take calls on our accounts, moving through a tiered system depending on the complexity and nature of the account. And only after they have gained enough call taking experience do we transition them to taking sort of higher level accounts, such as funeral homes, utility companies, the more complex ones. Each answering service, of course, has their own system. But our training program here at Alliance Answer involves weekly sessions between our call takers and our dedicated trainers, alongside instructional videos on new accounts that go over company details, scripting, and dispatch procedure once a new client starts with us. So throughout this training, our team members learn as well how to de-escalate difficult or irate callers. Of course, that's always going to happen, and properly handle calls that fall outside of any sort of predetermined call type in a client script. So how to sort of think outside the box and what to do and how to ask for help in this case. And often answering services will have dedicated dispatchers, as I mentioned, whose job is solely to send out messages to the clients based on their instructions. Dispatchers often are senior team members, and they're, of course, trained on this role too. We do sort of work on a more tiered system here at Alliance, so our more complicated or heavier subject matter clients, they get the more trained agents are the ones that would handle those, and we sort of work our operators up through these tiered systems so that they're only fully trained and ready to go to answer certain accounts, just based on the subject matter and their complexity. And alongside this account training, our team members also follow quality guidelines for call taking. Not every answering service has the same quality guidelines, and I'll just briefly discuss what we do here at Alliance. So we follow the guidelines set out by the Canadian Call Management Association, CAMX for short, a not-for-profit member-driven association for the answering service industry here in Canada. And they have an Award of Excellence program, and we advise and train our team members to follow a set of guidelines when speaking with callers and taking down messages. And these include the following. So did our operator use the complete and proper answer phrase as per the script? So going back through, did they say that good afternoon, thank you for calling so-and-so company, how may I help you? Did they say that fully and properly? I'll leave it here just for a moment. Call control. So did they talk too slow or too fast? Was there minimal dead air, or did they let the caller ramble on? In essence, making sure that they're the ones asking the questions and keeping the call moving smoothly. Manners. Did they say please and thank you throughout the call? So you'll see here in the script, it's a little hard to see on the screen, but we do have pleases and thank yous built in. We want to ensure that those manners are that they're emphasized and our agents are saying those pleases and thank yous. Makes the call sound more professional and more pleasant for the customer who is phoning in. So we ensure that our agents are doing that on every call. Grammar in this case. So not using slang or repeatedly using the same word, such as okay, using professional language throughout. There's nothing worse than taking a call on, say, for example, a funeral home and us having slang in there. So we want to ensure that our agents are staying professional and not sort of using slang words throughout. Do they sound knowledgeable, confident? When a caller calls in, does it sound like the person who they're speaking with knows the company? Do they know what the company does? Do they know how to handle the messages? We want to make sure that that's there. And their tone of voice. So it has to be appropriate based on the account. Funeral homes, of course, have a certain tone that we should be using based on the subject matter versus, say, for example, someone calling in for a plumber. And of course, offering to take a message, offering to assist. We want to make sure that our agents are, of course, saying that, yes, I can certainly take a message. Let me take down your details. We want to make sure that that's happening rather than the caller saying, do you mind taking down my information? Confirming the spelling of the surname. This is important with us. So we want to make sure that their last names are spelled back for accuracy. This, of course, is really important for our clients so they know who they're calling and that they have their details correct. And it's not just for that, it's for a phone number, confirming addresses, spelling of street names, everything of that sort gets confirmed so that we're sending our client the correct information. And the completion of message requirements. Do they ask all the questions in the script? So making sure that we're gathering all the information that a client has asked us to gather. And how did the operator end the call? So did they say they're closing, which is back here? Let's just go back. So did they say that closing right? Did they set the correct parameters so that you're going to receive a call back shortly the next business day? We don't want to mislead a business's customers, so we want to make sure that they're aware of when they're going to get a call back, and that's said to them at the end of the call, so they're not expecting something that isn't going to happen. And did the operator sound engaged with the caller? So did they sound like they were listening and actively listening, repeating back details that the caller gave to them? Did they make sure to confirm everything, that everything is all correct? That's all plays a part in our engagement piece. And did they refer to the caller by name? So either sir or ma'am, or by their last name or first name, depending on the context and the caller. In this case, we want to make sure that our callers are sort of acknowledging of who they're speaking to. And then just overall impression. How did the call go? Did it seem like it was great customer service? We certainly look into that. And all these criteria, they lead to a better customer experience for our customers, and they help maintain a professional and engaged standard for all of our calls. Calls are scored weekly here at Alliance, and if anything for any further training is needed based on those scores, a team members, they're provided that by our trainers. They work on this quality piece. And so I should end my presentation with sort of a brief comment here on AI. AI solutions certainly becoming more of a part of the answering service industry, aimed at complementing and enhancing the work done by our team members rather than replacing them. It's an ever-evolving process that has yielded and will yield exciting and promising results moving forward. With that being said, in our current times, customer service is very much the key for making a business stand out. There's a lot of similar types of service, equipment, and advancing technologies in the answering service industry. But at the end of the day, how a business connects to its customers and builds relationships remains the most important things. And I always like to think of Alliance as sort of a business that has its heart always to Kingston, regardless of how far it reaches. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today.